Hello my loves, I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you for supporting my channel. We're dealing with narcissistic abuse, rapid healing, spiritual ascension, and reclaiming our authentic power and abundant, beautiful lives. There was a good question on the channel. Someone said, if I subscribe, do I have to pay anything? No, you do not. If you subscribe, it would really help this channel. It would help me get this work out to people. This work would have saved my life a lot sooner if I'd had it. I would appreciate you sharing it. I would appreciate you subscribing and liking it, because then YouTube will let more people know about it. This is the work that saved my life, but if I could have had it sooner, it would have saved my life a lot sooner. I wouldn't have lost so much time. A lot of us have lost a lot of time here. So if you do subscribe, like and share, you don't have to. I don't it's your absolute free will and choice, but there is no charge for that. No one's you won't get charged a penny for it to subscribe, but it does help the message get out. So I want to talk about betrayal, shame, and healing our hearts, because I mean, your heart can never be broken. It can always it just gets very, very bruised. But the thing is, the experience of heartbreak is devastating, and most of us here would have suffered extraordinarily levels of devastation through betrayal, as well as, you know, the other. We're talking about betrayal here in particular. Let's talk about betrayal here and keep it focused. So for me personally, you know, coming from a family that was abusive, the ultimate betrayal, not the ultimate, I mean, if you've been in any kind of narcissistic relationship, you know, the people you're putting your vulnerability, your heart in their hands. Yeah, your vulnerability as a child, you know, my survival, can do things that are devastatingly opposite to the role you thought that they would have, to protect you, to be loyal to you, to care and love you, to nurture you. Same as in an intimate relationship or even a friendship, you know, loyalty, the values we have, the values that we absolutely deserve to be receiving back. You are on this planet to be loved and to receive love. Perfectly possible. You are not damaged. I want to talk about, we're going to get onto that. So these betrayals are very, very deep-seated. And not only are they devastating to us psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. I mean, heart attacks, heartbreaks, these are issues of the heart. We know that this level of stress, you know, certain stresses do affect certain bodily functions. If you ever know about Louise Hay's work, so it's not that you're going to get any of these things if you're here. You may be suffering with some things, you can heal them, I promise you. But it is related. This damage is serious. So on a spiritual, energetic level, closing our hearts also closes our manifestation ability, because the energy of desire, and in a positive way, desire is in dreaming about things we'd like, is a very strong force of creation. It shuts down our ability to love and receive love when we shut down our hearts. But for most of us, we are going to shut down our hearts because of the pain. It's going to feel too painful to feel, to give our hearts, to open our hearts. And being open-hearted is one of our natural abilities, and it's a beautiful thing. And I don't want us to close our hearts if we can help it. If you do what you need to do in your process, but we're coming back to being wholehearted, wholesome, and open-hearted. You are not damaged. I don't do any spell work, because I believe in free will, and I would never do it on another. I don't know a lot about it. I'm sure if people do it, maybe you're not interfering with free will. I don't know. It's not how I work. But I do believe in words that are kind of like casting spells. It's how we connect the energetic, spiritual, and physical world, you know, through our energy, through our spirituality, and through our mouths. So when people speak badly about you, it's a betrayal. Not just your abusers, but everyone in your community who knew what was going on and did nothing about it. That's a betrayal. These are not the kind of people who are wholesome and wholehearted and should be in your life. If people don't defend you, aren't loyal to you, haven't got your best interests at heart, or by omission are still part of the problem, these are people we want to look at separating out of our life. Because it's like a lie, right? A lie doesn't have to always be spoken. It's sometimes what people are not saying There is still a lie. They know what impression they're giving, and they're, by not speaking the truth, aligning with truth, they're lying by omission. So what I call people casting spells, speaking things, is sometimes an attack, and there are some things in our society that are not good for our consciousness. Now remember, I say consciousness is a thought entity, or love is a thought entity on one level, right? It's the, when you tap into a certain consciousness like love, you tap into an awareness energetically, I hope everyone understands me, of every thought that was ever spoken and every thing that's ever known about it. Like the narcissistic entity is tapped into a consciousness, right? Which is why, I mean, in that case, they all do the same thing, behave in exactly the same way, because that entity is very limited in consciousness. Love is a very expanded consciousness. There's lots of ways to experience love. We don't all act the same way in love, although we do act in a aligned energy, which is what's good for me is good for you, is good for the whole, in a feeling of collective good, in a wanting to be contribute positively to the human race, to each other and to ourselves, in a way that honors all of us. It's not even honoring us, it's actually natural for us not to be depleted in any way. It's not loving to the other or me, in, you know, to deplete either of us. In fact, love is supposed to feel good and abundant, and it feels abundant when I'm overflowing and there's no strings attached, and I can give and you can give, and it's not sticky or icky, it's just free flowing. This is the energy of abundance and love, right? So there are certain things. So when you've been betrayed by the people who are supposed to love you, not only are you dealing with the horrific things they've said and done to you, and the consequences, often financially, physically, emotionally, psychologically, energetically, and spiritually. You know, a lot of people have asked me questions around their relationship with God, and, you know, they're trying to get you to lose faith in what you know. No one can take away your relationship with God, your spirituality, your true essence, your wholeheartedness, right? You're not so damaged. But when people are speaking spells into consciousness, words are a form of creation. When we speak something, we can literally speak it into reality if we're using it to manifest. So when people speak certain things, right, we need to consciously reject what is not helpful for us. Like I've said before, the subconscious accepts automatically as data and something, then it then forms belief systems and programs basically your behavior from anything that we don't consciously react. So some spells I want you to just consciously reject are things like no smoke without fire. We carry a lot of shame because the people we love the most have betrayed us the worst. And then people in our communities have acted like it doesn't matter, that it's totally okay. And the underlying subconscious belief inside of us is that it's our fault. I am now not lovable because if I was, my parents would love me. If I was lovable, my partner would support me. If I was worth anything, then people wouldn't treat me this way. It starts forming belief systems. And there is stuff in our society that we have to consciously reject. No smoke without fire is one of them. When you are in an abuse situation, you do not have the skills to deal with this. You have not been trained for psychological, spiritual, emotional and physical, like nervous system regulation warfare, which means that the most typical thing you're going to do at some point is be triggered so much you're going to act out. For most people, that might just be saying something you regret. It might be physical violence. It might be going out into the community and needing people to know things and doing revengeful things, or things that you would regret or might make you look spiteful, or you might not regret yet because you're still angry. Whatever it is, it's out of character. It's pushing you out of yourself so that you lose yourself. And it's a very natural response to being constantly antagonized, constantly triggered, constantly pushed. And now you're being trained to believe that you are the problem, because now look who you are. Look who you've become. That behavior has got nothing to do with you unless you come into some kind of psychological warfare training and get ready for this and know what's coming against you. You don't have a lot of a chance. So whatever you've done, I need you to drop the shame for as much as you can. Release the shame. Just be willing to release the shame. You did nothing wrong. Maybe you're not happy with some of your behaviors. Forgiveness is setting us both free. It's when I say, I set myself free and I set you free. I do not forgive the behavior. I do not forget and deny my reality of what happened to me. I never forget, because that would be denying my reality, my feelings, and my perception of life. But I set us both free, i.e. I break all energetic attachment to this situation, to this person. You can do that with me now if you want to come into your heart. I release all circumstances, people, events and actions through all time, space and reality and dimensions that are no longer serving me. I set us all free. I come back into my authentic truth and power. I claim my sovereignty, right? I'm as pure and as innocent as the day I was born. In your heart you are, in your soul you are. The fact that you want to grow means that you are forgiven immediately. In all spiritual cultures we know this. There's no mud on us. If you've seen the videos about the lotus, there's no mud on you. You are sovereign. You are as innocent and pure as the day you were born. You were put in situations that were so, you were not equipped for. You didn't act in a way that isn't kind of impossible for most human beings not to react to. It, either in a self-destructive way, people implode. So empaths, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm more like, I don't explode. Some people rage and explode and fight. I implode, which means I'm going to self-destruct. It means I'm more likely to self-destruct than I am to explode. But either way, it's entirely unhealthy, right? Highly sensitive people often self-harm because we implode, right? And people who are not as high on that spectrum often fight physically because they explode. None of that means you're a narcissist. You put a human being under psychological warfare, it is pretty predictable what's going to happen there, right? Unless you've got enormous amounts of willpower and you've been somehow trained. You've got counseling, you've got therapy, you've got some skills, right? You've got some things to help you. But if you haven't got a lot of a chance, right, with this. It is very difficult to get out of these cycles. You need this kind of intelligence on this multidimensional thing. It's only difficult when you don't know. When you know, it's not difficult. So it's the shame and the level of betrayal that is like extremely difficult for us to deal with. And you have to know that what we tend to do is internalize what should be externalized, i.e. we feel shame for their behavior. Now, shame really is appropriate for something I've done, and it shouldn't. We're not here to sit in shame and to stay in shame, but I might feel ashamed of myself if I let myself down in a way that I should have known better. So guilt is, but this is the thing about shame. So guilt means my behavior was wrong. When we feel shame, we're kind of saying I am wrong as a thing. We want to, guilt is a easier emotion to deal with, because guilt really comes from a feeling of I did something wrong. Shame, you're really feeling like on a core level you are wrong. And the reason you feel that is because these people have made you feel like you are not worth anything, that you don't matter, that you barely exist, that you're there as maybe they've told you you're damaged or made you feel that way. You're not damaged, you're not ruined in any way. You can recover and come out shinier. But the point is this, right? So shame, when we feel levels of shame, it's feeling like I on a core level am wrong. Or there's something wrong very deeply with me, not just my behavior. So we want to dissolve the shame, we want to heal our hearts. So coming into our heart energy, feeling into our hearts, being with our hearts, being willing, just be willing to release some of this shame. And the spells people say to blame victims, don't be a victim. This is spells out of their mouth. This is a curse. Don't be a victim. Now, the problem is, for a lot of us, we have kept the secrets for the people we love for too long. Because there's not a healthy, safe space to often talk about it. And I don't recommend, see the last video, you do this outside of very safe spaces where people have earned your trust and it is safe to reveal your vulnerability. Toxic people who do not have your best interests at heart, who have not proven their trust, who you're not held and supported by, these are not safe people for you to divulge these things to anyway. Find safe spaces. Don't be a victim. This is a curse. It's a spell out people's mouths. Victim shaming, right? This isn't just someone who is dramatizing something. This is someone who's been heavily victimized. Yes, they're victims. Yes, they're targets. We reject these spells that people put on you to shame the fact that you have been viciously targeted and abused. we get to actually boldly own the fact that this behavior is not okay. But the challenge has been that there's been support structures, words, consciousness in our communities that actually enables this, right? And we have to say unacceptable, boldly stand in it. We don't deal with toxic people, like I said in the last video about boundaries and stuff. We know how to deal with them. We do not accept or consent any of it. In our subconscious programming, we are not accepting these programs of victim shaming. In a case of abuse, there's no smoke without fire. Sorry, if you put anything, antagonize anyone, any being, if you antagonize any being, it's gonna fight back at some point or become so beaten down, shelled out, that it doesn't fight. I'm still thinking about animals and humans. We don't fight back. But either way, whether you fight back or just self-destruct, you were put in a situation which was an impossible one for the human system to deal with. That's why people are getting sick, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, the whole thing. So we have to start building our awareness and losing this kind of hypnosis that is being put on us, where we see the truth. And the truth is, this behavior is gravely unacceptable. In my group Sovereign, people are saying that in some countries people are seeing this as coercive control, and it is getting recognized criminally. It should be. It should be. There is no really like this. You think about, I'm saying multidimensional healing because this is an attack on a multi-dimensional level. There's not much more you can do to really severely try and damage a human being. And I know you may feel like you're very damaged, but I promise you there is nothing you can't get back apart from your time. We can't get our time back, so let's not, we're gonna have to deal with, again, that's grief and that's lost work, but like, you won't get your time back. You won't get your time back, but you can rebuild your finances, you can rebuild your happiness, you can rebuild your connection, you can learn better ways to connect in real ways with real people, right? Where you don't have to feel anxious, you don't have to feel avoidant of people, you actually can feel very safe, secure, and not just that, connected and in love with people again. Now there's stages to this. Do not jump, do not jump into the codependency of, if you go through an isolation stage of cutting people out of your life and actually coming into yourself, that's a very brave move. It's very good for the soul. I spent a lot of time alone dealing with all of this, and it was me, God, and my dogs, right? But shamans do that. Shamans go off and they spend a lot of time in isolation. I spent a lot of time in isolation, and it was petrifying at one point. But at the other point, it was, I'm not saying that you need to do that, or not for too long, but the fact that I have no fear of that, and that I can feel connected to life, connected to source, connected to God, connected to me, connected to obviously animals and planet, and I can feel everything I need to feel with no stimulus. I have a different power now. Not saying you need to go through it at that level, but I'm not afraid of it. So therefore I'm not attached and not codependent. I'm not enmeshed. I'm unenmeshable, right? You can't take me from me anymore. No one can. You can't take my ability to love and enjoy life and be, right? This is an ascension. It's a spiritual awakening that happens when we heal from this, right? It's a harsh reality to go through. And I do not, as I say, I do not believe we need narcissists to come into a spiritual awakening. We are now changing the balance of us on the planet. I mean it, by turning on the light, starving the life force energy out of this entity. They have to be forced into an awakening over time. That will happen. But, and then, we'll have dark and light forces, but they will change over time as we evolve. In history, Mother Nature is built for evolution. This is a distortion on the planet right now. This is something that we went through because it's a distortion on the planet. This is not the way we have to awaken. We can awaken in much better ways. But since we are all here, now we have no choice but to massively awaken to ourselves, to the planet, to each other, spiritually, emotionally, physically, sexually, all of it. We have to awaken because because when you've been through this level of abuse, right, there's no other way to go. You've already gone through a level of destruction that has forced you into a restoration, a rebuilding of self that has to happen at every level, at a very core level, right? This does not have to take a long time. Keep doing what you're doing here. You will heal. But do all the elements. Listen to what I'm saying. Let your consciousness shift. Let your awareness shift. Your body wants to heal. Your soul wants to heal. You came for a purpose on this planet, and you came to experience and contribute to life. That's Mother Nature. There is a force of nature that you can tap into that will literally get behind you and your life and propel you into who you came to be. So please just be open. Just be open. Just be open as you can. Just start knowing that this is the truth, right? Go easy on yourself. Inevitably, you will keep gravitating towards your healing. You wouldn't be here otherwise, right? I'll do it. I'll leave this video because it's 20 minutes. But yeah, if you want to join Sovereign, let me know. Any questions, let me know. Keep commenting so I know where you are and what you're... I can keep making sure I'm doing the best content for you. All right, my loves, lots of love. I'll speak to you soon.